Hello everyone, today we are going to be breaking down the lore behind all of the characters in Splatoon. In this video, we are only going to be touching on the characters that have a speaking role, and if you're watching this video after Splatoon 3 launches, I'll have a video on the Splatoon 3 characters for you very soon. Or it might be out by now, I don't know. Doing this video a month before Splatoon 3 launches is kind of a tricky thing, but nevertheless, here is a breakdown on every character from Splatoon. Agent 3's important events start when they chose to go down the manhole and meet Captain Cuttlefish. They're taking on a journey through Octo Valley, being guided by Cuttlefish to rescue the Great Zapfish, Inkopolis' main power source. Cuttlefish gets abducted, leading Agents 1 and 2 to finish guiding 3 and to save Captain Cuttlefish. 3 arrives at the final boss fight where they meet DJ Octovio. 3 fights off the Octobot King and beats Octovio and rescues Cuttlefish. Later on, while on a research trip, 3 and Cuttlefish fall into the deep sea metro. 3 gets separated from their mentor, and it's unknown what happens to them, besides the fact that they somehow get an employee model CQ-80. 3 shows up to save Agent 8 and Cuttlefish, but is knocked unconscious and is soon mind-controlled by Commander Tartar. 3 is saved from the mind control by Agent 8 after a fight. Sometime after or before Octo expansion, but definitely after Splatoon 1, Agent 3 begins a DJ career going by the name of DJ Sango. Sometime in this career, 3 had an 8-hour-long rap battle with Marina. During the Final Fest, 3 chose Team Order, and sometime after that, leading up to us where we are now in the story, 3 took over Captain Cuttlefish's spot as leader of the new Squid Platoon, giving the position of Agent 3 to a new Inkling or Octoling, ready to step up to the challenge. Agent 3's personality is very calm and not fazed by much, making them a great leader. Krusty Sean is a 30-year-old Japanese tiger prawn. The fried look of the quote-unquote jacket he wears is either actual breadcrumbs or something designed to look like breadcrumbs. It's not exactly clear, but either way, it still is incredibly morbid. Krusty Sean enjoys collecting movies and pursuing his love quest to find a girlfriend. Most well known about Krusty Sean is that he used to run shrimp kicks in Splatoon 1, but moved to his food truck in Splatoon 2. Krusty Sean chose Team Order so he could be on the same team as Bisque. The earliest we see of Captain Cuttlefish are his days as second lieutenant of the original Squid Platoon from this picture of their defense of Arowana Castle. Hi, quick edit, it's actually not the picture of the two sieging Arowana Castle, it's actually this one of just the two hanging out. Cuttlefish had a battle with Octovio, but it's important to know that Cuttlefish and Octovio knew each other before the start of the Great Turf War. He fought on a team with the Moses Schellendorf, 2 unknown Inklings, and Judd. A real long time after that, when the Great Zapfish was captured, he led Agent 3 through Octo Valley until his kidnapping by Octovio. He was released after hearing the Calamari incantation. Over the next 2 years, he'd work closer with Agent 3 until his research trip led him into the Deep Sea Metro, where he'd met an Octoling that they were already fighting before their fall into the Metro. Cuttlefish works with the Octoling as well as Off the Hook to break free from the Deep Sea Metro. After a betrayal left Agent 3 brainwashed, Cuttlefish had to be saved by the Octoling he'd met. Years later, Cuttlefish is finally retired from the new Squid Splatoon, but still helps out now and then. Judd was the cat of the Professor. He had the strange ability to be a cat with the judgment of knowing when and where to place military attacks. The Professor made a lot of money renting Judd to military powers throughout the world, but everything changed when the Great Flood started. The Professor gave Judd an immortality serum, because humans just somehow had it and then still went extinct. After the injection, Judd was placed into cryosleep, while everything in the world came to a watery end. Around 2,000 years before the events of Splatoon 1, Judd's cryopod opened where he awoke to presumably the Inkling's Egyptian period, where he quickly went back to judging battles. Hundreds of years went on, and eventually the Great Turf War broke out. Judd became a member of the first Squid Platoon along with Cuttlefish and Moses Schellendorf. Judd declared that the Inklings had won over the Octarians, and presumably just integrated into Inkling society and watched it evolve normally until the Turf Wars became the most popular sport in Inkopolis, where once again he went back to judging battles. More recently in his judging career, a clone of Judd was created named Little Judd. Same immortality, same genetics, same everything, besides the personality. Lil Judd despises Judd, and it's likely that these two will play a big, very important role when we take our journey to Alterna and fight back against the Fuzzy Ooze. Agent 4 was recruited by Marie after the disappearance of Callie and the second disappearance of the Great Zapfish. At first, 4 had no clue who Marie was or who the Squid Sisters are. This was because 4 was super consumed with extracurricular activities. 4 goes on a very similar journey to their predecessor 3, whom at the time hadn't been met yet by 4. At the end of their journey, 4 finally confronts Octavio, helping to save Callie and defeat Octavio. 8 was a seemingly average Octoling within the world of Octo Valley until being exposed to the Calamari incantation. Exposure to the incantation caused a period of restlessness in their life where they went back and forth on whether or not they should leave their life within Octo Valley behind. After finally committing to the idea and starting their journey to Inkopolis, they were forced into combat with Agent 3 and Captain Cuttlefish. A freak accident leaves 8, who is now formally named Agent 8 by Cuttlefish, after receiving instructions to leave the deep sea metro that they fell into. The duo off the hook stumbles into contact with 8 and works with them and Cuttlefish to escape the deep sea prison. 8 is tasked with finding the 4 objects to take them to the quote-unquote Promised Land, which is assumed to be Inkopolis at the time. Upon completion of 8's tasks, it's revealed that the Promised Land isn't Inkopolis, but is in fact a brutal death in a blender. At the last moment, Agent 3 appears and frees Cuttlefish and 8 from the blender. 8 is then tasked with using the hole created in the ceiling by 3 to find the actual exit. On their journey to the Deep Sea Metro's exit, Agent 3 is mind-jacked and forced into combat with 8. After 8's victory, 8 for the first time lays eyes on Inkopolis, followed quickly by the sight of Pearl and Marina's helicopter fleet coming to pick them up. The celebrations are quickly spoiled by the horrific sight of the deep sea test facility rising from the ocean and revealing the NILS statue and its leader, Commander Tartar. 8 helps to destroy the statue by covering it all in ink. After the destruction of the statue, 8 is finally able to integrate into Inkling society. It is unknown if 8 ever worked with the Squidbeak Splatoon again, but we know they remained friends with the people they met on their journey and went on to meet Agent 4, Callie, and Marie. Sometime after Octo Expansion's story ends, 8 returns to the Deep Sea Metro and confronts their trauma involving Agent 3. Sometime around the Final Fest, it's revealed that Agent 8 might take up employment under Sheldon working at Ammo Knights due to their proficiency in weapon maintenance. Sea Cucumber is the morally gray conductor of the Deep Sea Metro. It's unknown how long he's been working on the station, but it can be assumed it's been a pretty long time based on his devotion to his work. CQ guides test subjects through the metro, giving them instructions on what's needed of them at each test. After the destruction of the Deep Sea Metro, CQ still devotes his time to running the train, showing further dedication to his work and not just to his boss. Callie and Marie were raised in Calamari County, where from an early age, the two proved to be talented singers in a youthful singing contest. As they got older, they took on 2 different careers together. To the public, they became the Squid Sisters, a duo growing in popularity, bringing a unique sound to a music industry dominated by folk music, as well as running the Inkopolis news. But behind closed doors, they were running undercover operations in their grandfather's new Squidbeak Splatoon, fighting back against the Octarians that would threaten Inkopolis. Eventually, superstardom took over too much of their life, requiring the Squidbeak Splatoon side of their life to take a back seat. This came at an unfortunate time, as soon after a UFO crashed down in Inkopolis, followed by the sighting of another UFO and the disappearance of Inkopolis' main source of power, the Great Zapfish. The Squid Sisters played coy with the situation until the kidnapping of Cuttlefish. After his kidnapping, they took over in helping 3 fight the Octarians. The Squid Sisters helped 3 fight Octavio by hijacking the speakers in the fight with Octavio and exposing all the surrounding Octolings to the Calamari incantation, weakening the years of propaganda they've lived in, as well as weakening Octavio himself. The agents saved the day and held a concert in Inkopolis to celebrate. A year later, the Callie vs. Marie Splatfest took place and ended with a Marie victory. Their Splatfest shot their stardom through the stratosphere, making them the most popular people in Inkopolis. Callie started work as an actress, while Marie became a bigger solo artist and began their career in theater. The two began to drift apart, so they planned to go back to Calamari County together and spend some time. Marie made it to Calamari County, but Callie wasn't seen. When Marie returned to Inkopolis, she found the Great Zapfish once again stolen and DJ Octavio nowhere to be found. Marie recruited Agent 4 to help her find Callie and the Zapfish in a search through Octo Canyon. Throughout their journey, a mysterious voice persistently told them to end their journey and turn back. And at the end of everything, this voice was finally revealed to be Callie, working for Octavio, while under his mind control. Marie arrives to the fight and shoots the Hypno Shades right off of Callie's face, and after exposing Callie to the Calamari incantation again, her mind control becomes fully broken, and together Agents 1, 2, and 4 defeat Octavio again. Several years later, the new Squidbeak Splatoon arrives to Alterna to deal with the threat of the Fuzzy Ooze, now under the directive of Captain 3. Mr. Grizz is an aggressive businessman responsible for his company Grizzco. The one thing we do know about Mr. Grizz for sure is that we don't know a lot about him, but we do know a little bit. Mr. Grizz is male based on his Mr. title. He handles very much of his inner workings of his business by himself, such as training, coaching, and supervising Grizzco workers. He has a unique line of Grizzco made weapons which may or may not be modified for chemical warfare based on the pill bottles on the weapons. No answer as to if they are or aren't, because the pill bottles could just be scrap turned into weapons like lots of other weapons in Splatoon. One of the biggest rumors about Grizz is that he may not actually be monitoring salmon runs when we're hearing him talking. It could actually be an automated speech program. This idea came from a developer. We know that Mr. Grizz is going to have something to do with Return of the Mammalians, based on the fact that you can hear his laugh at the end of the story mode trailer, and that he's used his mass amounts of money from the last few years of Salmon Run to open up a Splatsville headquarters and helicopters to fly Inklings out to different salmonid spawning grounds. And that is all we know about Grizz. Gelonzo is the short store owner in Splatoon 1 and the son of Gelfonzo. Gelonzo is viewed as some sort of fashionista among Inklings. We know basically nothing about him, besides the fact that he's one of the very rare jellyfish that aren't a part of the jellyfish hive mind. Pearl had always had an easy life. Coming from an incredibly rich family, having quite literally received a ship identical to the Manta Maria for her 6th birthday, she would never need to worry about money in her life. One of Pearl's biggest interests, though, was music, having entered a youth folk singing competition as a child, just like Callie and Marie had. In said competition, Pearl's voice blew out the speakers, foreshadowing just how dangerous of a weapon her voice would be in the future. Later on in Pearl's life, she joined a metal band and made the song Dudes Be Sleeping. I love editing. I actually said the word there, but you'll never know. But anyway, this venture never took off, and Pearl was kicked out of the band. Later on, after the first time of Calamari Incantation had been exposed to the Octolings, Pearl met an Octoling on Mount Nantai named Marina Ida. Marina never told Pearl about how she'd got to where she was, but Marina was hiding a very dangerous past. Marina, unlike most characters here, has a very well documented past before coming to Inkopolis. Marina was an Octarian combat engineer who performed well above her age group. Her education started at age 6 at an elementary training program at Slimeskin Garrison. She proceeded to skip through multiple grades and graduate at age 9. 1 year later, she joined the Flutter design team. 3 years later, she joined Slimeskin Garrison to work on improving the Great Octo weapons. Another 3 years passed and she's assigned to Octavio's Wasabi supply unit, where she earned numerous commendations. And finally, just months later, heard the Calamari Incantation and chose to leave everything she'd worked for behind. Not even knowing how to speak Inkling, she watched Pearl sing on Mount Nantai, and was determined to find her again. Which leads us to where we left off with Pearl. After only a few interactions with each other, Marina sprung the idea on Pearl to create Off the Hook, which Pearl agreed to after seeing Marina's demo of Ebb and Flow. By the time they had released their 4th single, the Squid Sisters were leaving Inkopolis News, and the now 9-month-old Off the Hook had the popularity to pick it back up. The duo one random day picked up a signal from a place they'd never heard of, and it made no sense to them. The signal they found came from Captain Cuttlefish and Agent 8. Pearl and Marina make it their mission to help the two escape from the Deep Sea Metro. Marina gives logistical supports in the challenges that 8 faces, where Pearl brings monetary support, using her rich parents' money to help 8 out of the debt they get into when paying their way through the Deep Sea Metro. During their adventure, Cuttlefish uses some sort of Squidbeak Splatoon military intelligence database to reveal to Pearl just how high up in the Octarian military Marina was. Marina was horrified by the confrontation, but is comforted by Pearl and given support when Pearl tells her that she'd still accept her no matter what she came from, and that she can't wait to see the other Octolings who will come to Inkopolis and change things. After the Blender attack, Pearl and Marina guide 8 through the sanitation facility and arrive to pick up 8 Cuttlefish and 3 on the surface. After the pickup, the NILS statue rises from the water and the fight begins. Marina's Octarian military intelligence pays off when she's able to deploy her hyper bombs to the NILS statue to cover it in ink and stop its solar charge. When the statue is covered in ink, Pearl delivers the death blow to the statue from a modified killer whale powered by her freakishly dangerous voice. This attack destroys the statue, allowing the group to finally go home. 2 years later, one of the biggest events in recent history of Inkopolis takes place, the Chaos vs. Order Splatfest. Pearl taking the side of Chaos and Marina taking Order. For this Splatfest, Pearl invokes Article 4 of Splatfest law, which states that the loser must live in the winning team's world of choice. meaning the citizens of Inkopolis were faced with living in a world of either chaos or order. A 3-day-long Splatfest took place, and in the end Chaos won. Pearl revealed to Marina that she only wanted Off the Hook to branch into more genres of music. But the ripples that the Chaos victory sent through the citizens of Inkopolis made an effect that could not be undone. The Chaos victory created a year-and-a-half-long mass movement of Inklings and Octolings looking to create a fresh start in Splatsville, a city known for chaos located far away from Inkopolis. Pearl and Marina did end up breaking into new genres in the form of a band called Damp Socks, with their first hit from the band called Candy Coated Rocks. Isopadre is a 39-year-old giant isopod who became a test subject in the Deep Sea Metro. In his time as a test subject, he was only able to achieve 2 memcakes, likely leading to his obsession with them. He's a wise person from what we can see of him, sure of his place in the world. Isopadre, despite seeming calm and collective, was on Team Chaos for the final fest. Sheldon is a horseshoe crab who, as you all know, runs Ammonites. He's obsessed with the military and comes from a lineage in the service, his grandfather being Amosas Schellendorf, a great turf war and Squid Splatoon veteran. Sheldon is notorious for going on and on when talking about things he likes, especially weapons, when he's passionate about them, which his friends either find super fascinating or super annoying, and there is typically no in between. The big glasses he wears is due to his nearsightedness, which developed when he was younger, staying up too late working on weapons. The nearsightedness ultimately got him rejected from the military. After his rejection, he opened Ammonites out of his home, which fascinatingly eventually turned into the whole of Booyah Base in Splatoon 1. Sheldon at one point was invited to join the new Squid Splatoon, but turned down the invitation, preferring to do technical work and help out from behind the scenes. Also, there is apparently a Turf War Association that we don't know what it does, in which Sheldon is the director of. I have no clue what this is, but it probably has something to do with Squid Force, since they're the sport's biggest sponsor. Sheldon was neutral during the final fest because he doesn't care who wins, just that he gets to keep making weapons. Very American of him. Annie is a sea anemone who suffers from a lot of social anxiety. She ran the hat store in Splatoon 1, but moved to selling gear online to get out of always having to interact with people. She's prone to outbursts, which just kinda comes with her anxiety. It's possible that Annie could have had a thing for Sheldon at one point. We hear this in the Squid Sisters stories where Callie and Marie talk about them, although they don't come to a straight answer on it. She also worked with him part-time for a little bit at Ammonites, decorating weapons. Where Annie stumbles in voicing herself, her partner Mo makes up for it. Mo insults the player at every given opportunity, and even though Mo acts super tough, he refuses to leave Annie's hair for some reason. Annie was on Team Chaos, her reasoning being that the theme matches what she sells online. Spike is a 25-year-old sea urchin and is considered to be a dangerous individual, trading the lives of super sea snails in exchange for working on Inkling's gear. Not much is known about Spike, but around the time of Splatoon 2, he started a get-rich-quick scheme, which Merch now works for. Merch thinks very highly of himself above other people. This ego leads Merch to getting played by other people, and we can see this with Spike getting Merch to join his scam. Another reason Merch looks up to Spike so much is because they used to live in the same town. Spike chose Team Chaos, whereas Merch chose the correct team and went with Order. Bisque is a laid-back spider crab who loves to see other people's fashion choices, and is close with Krusty Sean. Bisque isn't from Inkopolis and actually broke up with his girlfriend to move there and start his music career. Bisque chose Team Order to be on the same team as Krusty Sean. Flo is a sea slug who works at Cooler Heads in Splatoon 2. She's essentially the hippie of Splatoon, and Inklings associate her as their quote-unquote crazy aunt. Flo is relatively older than all the Inklings, but I have a hard time believing she's older than someone like Isopadre. Flo got her job at Cooler Heads branch. Yes, I said branch, this is a chain store, so we could see it return in Splatoon 3, when she was traveling and met the owner who liked her hat and gave her the job. Craymond is the emperor shrimp that lives inside of her head, and just like Mo, loves to blurt things out at the players. Apparently, Flo and Craymond have been friends for a very long time. DJ Octovio is the 100-plus-year-old leader of the Octarians. He's been leading the Octarians since before the Great Turf War, but when the ties rose, he was forced to fight the Inklings for the little remaining land. Even though the two factions were on good terms, he was even on good terms with Captain Cuttlefish before the war, which makes his current state more depressing. His oldest battle that we know of is the same as Cuttlefish's, the Siege of Arowana Castle, where the Octarians lost. During the first year of the Great Turf War, Octarians were beating the Inklings thanks to their great Octo weapons, but the second year of the war undid all of the progress the Octarians made and ended in their defeat. forcing the Octarians into places like Octo Valley and Octo Canyon. 100 years later, Octavio sends out Octarian UFOs to steal the Great Zapfish. This was done to deal with the Octarians not having enough electricity to power their underground domes, where they've been forced to live. During the new Squidbeak Splatoon's counter-assault into Octo Valley, Octavio kidnaps Cuttlefish in an attempt to get the Squidbeak Splatoon to turn back. When Agent 3 arrives, Octavio arrives on the scene in the Octobot King, ready to defend his prisoner and, more importantly, the Great Zapfish. The attempt to defend his hope for his people fails, to a degree that he could not prepare for. When the Squid Sisters hijacked the Octarian speakers and played the calamari incantation, Octavio was dealt a devastating blow in the form of his Octolings losing support for him and his cause, leading to a mass migration of Octolings to Inkopolis. To defend what he had left, Octavio kidnapped the Great Zapfish again, as well as Callie, in an attempt to use her popularity to garner more support for his forces. Octavio flees to Octo Canyon with Agents 2 and 4 hot on his trail. When confronted, it's revealed that he brainwashed Callie and enters the Octobot King 2 in an attempt to show his people the power of the Octarians and to stop the Squidbeak Splatoon again. This show of power fails when Sheldon and Marie arrive on the scene and snipe the hypno shades off of Callie's face. Callie returns to normal, and in another devastating blow to Octavio, the calamari incantation is performed live to all of the Octarians watching, no doubtably causing more Octolings to leave Octarian society. Octavio is captured and brought back under custody of the Squidbeak Splatoon, and as of now, this is where his story ends, but we know he'll be having more to do in Splatoon 3. Gelfonso is the father of Gelonzo and the owner of Ye Olde Clothes Shop in Splatoon 2. Just so everyone knows, Gelfonso created Gelonzo by splitting him off of himself. The most interesting part of Gelonzo is his F*** you t-shirt. That is not a joke, sources in the description. Tartar is the sentient AI that the professor created in order to pass down humanity's knowledge to whichever species evolved and was able to learn from it. The objective was created to get the next species of Earth to not make humanity's mistake. However, the thousands of years alone made Tartar go crazy and to develop a new objective when he saw what the Inklings and Octolings were fighting over. Tartar believed these objectives they were fighting over to be trivial and not worth his time, so he developed the primordial ooze from the dead remains of test subjects and planned on using it in the NILS statue to sanitize every living thing in the world, making everyone loyal to him. Tartar made this ooze from running tests in the Deep Sea Metro. People that somehow wound up as test subjects were forced to participate in tests that would either kill the subject or allow them to pass based on their performance. If you passed all the tests like Agent 8, you'd be grounded up into a blender and turned into the primordial ooze. This, of course, was all stopped thanks to 8, Pearl, and Marina. When the NILS statue was destroyed in-game, Tartar was said to be killed, but I wouldn't be so sure as he somehow chose Team Order for the final fest. I don't think it needs an explanation for his team choice. This character hasn't been seen in-game and technically breaks the rules I made of the character needing dialogue, but they actually have their own song, so I wanted to give them an entry. Shaiho Shai is the producer for the Squid Sisters. They are one of the people that discovered Callie and Marie before they were famous, and they have their own version of City of Color that's different from the Squid Sisters version that I'll play right now. Well, there you go. There are all the major Splatoon characters and their histories. I hope some parts of it weren't too repetitive with some of the characters. It's hard to make every story sound unique when there's been 3 campaigns, and most of the characters have all been intertwined somehow. But regardless, if you like this video, make sure to drop a like and consider subscribing. It really means the world to me when I see that someone liked my videos so much to the point where they wanted to subscribe and see more of it. But anyways, that's it for me, gamers. See ya.